Hey friends, this is Kalpesh. I hope you guys are safe and healthy in this pandemic situation. So stay home and keep learning about the automotive technologies on my YouTube channel Automotive Crux. Today I am going to explain the working of the two-stroke petrol engines. So let's get started. Two-stroke petrol engines are utilized in many automotive vehicles. For example, you can consider automotive rickshaw, bikes and sports bikes, especially you can consider the mud bikes. In these examples you can find the one common thing, which is power. So wherever the power is the prime requirement, we can utilize the two-stroke petrol engine. Now the question is, how does two-stroke engine fulfill this demand? The answer is hidden in this video, so I am requesting you guys to watch till the end for better understanding. Now before we understand the working principle of the two-stroke petrol engine, first we need to understand a few terms. The first term, it is the stroke. As we are aware with the two extreme position of the piston movement in any engine, which are known as a top dead center and the bottom dead center, right? Top dead center and the bottom dead center. Now stroke can be defined as it is the linear displacement in between the top dead center and the bottom dead center in the simple manner. In another way, you can also say like the stroke, it is the linear displacement of a piston inside the cylinder in between the top dead center and the bottom dead center. As I said in my previous video of the four-stroke petrol engine, stroke is always indicated by capital L, and stroke, it is nothing but the simple linear displacement. So stroke can be measured in meter, centimeter or mm. Now the second term, you can consider the ports. In construction of the four-stroke petrol engines, engine comprises the valve-like structure, and it also has the control mechanism to actuate the valves, intake valves and the exhaust valves. In case of a two-stroke engines, no such kind of valves are utilized, and in place of valves, these two-stroke engines have ports. Okay, they are known as a ports. Now in construction of the ports, you can observe here, these are the ports, intake port and the exhaust ports. So ports are nothing but a simple pipe like construction. In construction of the two-stroke engine, three ports are utilized. Okay, three ports are utilized: intake port, exhaust port and one other port which is known as a transfer port. This transfer port, it is the simple channel which connects the combustion chamber to the crankcase in this manner. Okay. Now the actuation of these all three ports, intake port, exhaust port and transfer port, they are controlled with the help of the pistons movement inside the cylinder. Remaining parts and the construction of the two-stroke engines, it is quite similar to the four-stroke engine. Now, let's discuss about the two-stroke cycle. In case of our four-stroke engine, as I have already explained in my previous video, all four processes of power generation cycle, suction, compression, expansion and the exhaust process, these processes are occurred during the four-stroke of the piston inside the cylinder. Now we are aware with the meaning of stroke, so we can say that this all four processes of power generation cycle completes during the 4 times movement of the piston in between the top dead center and the bottom dead center inside the cylinder. During this power generation cycle, in case of a four-stroke petrol engine, this crankshaft rotates twice. It completes 2 revolutions inside the crank. Now in case of a two-stroke petrol engine, these all four processes which are a part of the power generation cycle, suction, compression, expansion and exhaust, they are completed in the two-stroke only. That means to complete these four processes, piston has to travel only 2 times inside the cylinder in between the top dead center and the bottom dead center. And this is the reason why this engine is known as a two-stroke engine. Let's see the working of the two-stroke engine. Now as I said, in two-stroke engine, the all four processes, suction, compression, expansion and exhaust, they are completed in the two strokes of the piston only. For the better understanding of the working principle, try to visualize two consecutive power generation cycles. First, focus on this figure. In this figure indicates the upward movement of the piston from bottom dead center towards the top dead center. Now, during this upward movement, the piston first uncovers the intake port. So the petrol air mixture, which is also known as a charge, it comes inside the cylinder. That means suction process starts. During this upward movement, the charge which presents in the combustion chamber due to the previous cycle, it gets compressed and simultaneously compression process starts. So during this movement, while piston is traveling from bottom dead center to top dead center, that means during the first stroke, you can assume that the suction process and simultaneously the compression process occurs. So we can say that suction and compression occurs during the first stroke. Now at the end of compression stroke, the spark plug produces the spark and combustion process occurs, and due to this combustion process, hot flue gases are generated which has an extremely high temperature and pressure. This pressurized hot flue gases, they pushes the piston in the downward direction, so it becomes our second stroke. This, the first figure. Now in this, you can observe that it indicates the downward movement of the piston. So when piston starts downward movement from top dead center to the bottom dead center towards the bottom dead center, this process of downward movement, it is due to the push type forces produced by the hot flue gases. So our expansion process has been started, and during this we are getting some power output at our crankshaft, and that's why this is known as a power stroke also. Now during this downward movement or during the expansion process, when piston uncovers the exhaust port, our exhaust process starts and hot flue gases starts escaping the engine. During the downward movement of the piston, where exhaust flue gases pushes the piston in the downward direction, due to its motion, charge which is present due to the previous stroke, which is known as a suction process, it gets pressurized, and due to this pressure rise, this starts flowing from crankcase to the towards the combustion chamber through transfer port, and this is the main function of the transfer port. It helps us to convey the charge from crankcase towards the combustion chamber, and simultaneously the upcoming charge, it helps us to pushing out the exhaust gases from the engine. This process of pushing out the exhaust gases with the help of upcoming charge for the next cycle, this process is known as a scavenging process. This is the reason you can observe the crown shape of the piston, it is slightly different in case of a two-stroke engine. So during the downward movement, our expansion and exhaust, this both processes occurred in the second stroke. I am again repeating, during the first stroke, during the upward movement of the piston, first it uncovers the intake port, so suction process starts, and simultaneously it compresses the charge which is present due to the previous cycle inside the combustion chamber. So suction and compression simultaneously occur during the first stroke. At the end of compression, the spark produces the spark plug ignites the charge, and the expansion process or the power stroke, it starts. During the downward movement of the piston, when it uncovers the exhaust port, the exhaust process starts, and the flue gases starts escaping the engine. So this is the whole power generation cycle of the two-stroke engine, which is completed by the piston's movement, two times only, and during this two times movement of the piston, or you can consider the two stroke of the piston, our crankshaft rotates only one revolution. Okay, only one revolution. That means in case of our two-stroke engine, one power stroke is generated at every revolution of the crankshaft. In compared to four-stroke engine, in case of a four-stroke engine, one power stroke is generated at every two revolution of the crankshaft. This is the major difference this is the major difference in between the four-stroke and the two-stroke engine. You can observe this all processes in the better manner in this animated figure. Okay. Just try to observe the piston's movement and simultaneously occurring processes. Okay. Suction and compression occurs simultaneously, and expansion and the exhaust occurs simultaneously. This transfer port helps to transfer the charge from crankcase to the combustion chamber. The advantages of two-stroke engine. The first and foremost advantage of the two-stroke engine is, as compared to other engines, the power to weight ratio of two-stroke engine is high. As I said, there is no requirement of the actuating mechanism for valves, and in case of a two-stroke engine, one power stroke is generated at every revolution of the crankshaft, so smaller size of flywheel is required. These two parameters reduces the overall weight of the engine, and this way you can say that power to weight ratio is high in case of two-stroke engine. Power produced is twice compared to four-stroke engine of the same size. As I said previously, one power stroke is generated at every revolution of the crankshaft in case of two-stroke engine, whereas one power stroke is generated at every two revolution of the crankshaft in four-stroke engine. So we can say that with the same size, the power produced is twice compared to four-stroke engine. Two-stroke engine is utilized where the low cost, compact size and lightweight is important, and no valves, no actuating mechanisms, so that's why no frictional losses, no mechanical losses. That's why we can say that mechanical losses are less compared to the four-stroke engines. Thank you guys. If you like this video, I'm requesting you guys to subscribe this channel and click on the bell button, so whenever I will upload new video, you will get notification.